Okay, everybody, so thank you. Lovely to be here again. I recognise one or two names there, so that's nice. So as Jamie said, today we're going to be looking at writing task 1, which is comparing two charts. So the outline of the webinar is I'll be interpreting a table, making comparisons, identifying key information, and as Jamie said, there'll be a Q&A at the end, okay? So I will try and address questions as I go through the webinar, but sometimes, depending on what I ask, I get hundreds of answers. So it could be that it might be better if you put them in the Q&A so we can look at them at the end. Okay, so let's get started. Sorry, I've got a little problem with my screen. Just a minute. Okay, that's it. Right, so by the end of this webinar, you'll be able to interpret a table and a bar chart, select the key features of a chart or table, write a clear introduction, overview and body paragraphs, and use a range of language to describe two data sets. Okay, so as I said, I'll be asking you a few questions as we go along, so please feel free to put your answers in the box, in the chat. Okay, so as you can see, we've got a table here and a chart. So I'll just read out the question. The table shows the results of a survey which sampled a cross-section of 100,000 people, asking if they travelled abroad and why they travelled for the period 1994 to 1998. So the chart shows their destinations over the same period. Okay, one thing actually I just noticed is the spelling of travelled in here. So it's an American spelling. So just make sure that you're consistent in terms of spelling, because we spell it with a double L. So I guess either is fine, but just make sure you're using either British or American. So yeah, I just noticed Mohammed is sitting the test tomorrow, so I will try and give you some tips, Mohammed. Good luck with that. Okay, so let's have a look properly at this now. So interpreting the data. Okay, so we have the table here. What type of chart is it? Yeah, I actually just said that, sorry. It's a table, that's correct. Thank you. What is being measured? What's being measured? Visits, sky, yeah, that's right. So visits. Yeah, visits and the purpose of visits is correct. And what are the time periods for this? Yeah, 1994 to 1998, good. Okay, so which tenses should you use? The past tense, yeah. Yeah, so it's all in the past, so you have to use the past tense, okay? Not the present perfect, which some people kind of make mistakes with. Okay, and now looking at this one. Yeah, so what kind of chart is this? Yeah, thanks, Mohammed. So it's a bar chart, that's right. What's being measured here? Destinations, that's correct. So you can see at the bottom is Western Europe, North America, and other areas. Yeah. What are the time periods? Yeah, that's right. So it's 94 to 98 again. So it's really talking about the same types of people here. Suitable tenses for this one? Past, that's correct. Good. Yeah. So now just looking again at identifying key features. Right, so what does the data do here? What happens to the numbers in the boxes? In other words, does it go up or down? Yeah, it goes up, that's right. So if you have a quick look at that. So the holiday It goes from 15,246 in 94 to 20,700 in 1998. So it increases. And if you look at the numbers, they all increase. Each row increases there, pretty much, apart from the other reasons. What are the highest and lowest points? Holiday, the highest, that's right. Yeah, 896 is the lowest. Okay, that's for other reasons in 1995. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, can you notice any similarities there? Any similarities? So, I mean, looking at the figures, so business and visits to friends and relatives, okay, they're quite similar. And if you look at how much they increase, they don't increase very much. So there's not much of a rise. Okay, so each year is fairly similar to the previous one. Any notable exceptions? Anything that is particularly different here? Yeah, so somebody, Shabnam, has said holidays. Yeah. So holidays, as you can see, there's a lot more people that go on holiday than go on business. Okay, so just looking at the main points here, most people traveled for holidays, as you said. The number of visits abroad increased over the period. Okay, and then looking at this one, so you need to come up with about 5 points here. So we've got, as you can see, 2 for the first one. And then for the bar chart, what can you notice here? Yeah, increase in Western Europe. So there's a steady increase. So it keeps on going up. And yeah, Western Europe, much more people go to Western Europe than to North America and other areas. That's right. So yes, Angel, so Western Europe is the most visited place. That's correct. Anything else you notice? North America has the lowest. Yeah, that's correct. North America has the fewest number of visitors. Steady for all others. Yeah. Okay, let's just look at what we've picked up on here. So the most popular destination by far was Western Europe. Yeah. So what does the expression by far mean? It's not. Yeah, it's not up until now. It's slightly different. So if we said the most popular destination was Western Europe, that kind of means the same, but by far emphasizes it. So it means much more. Okay, so it's just an expression for emphasis. Another point you can see here, visits to Western Europe increased, and visits to North America and other areas were low and stayed fairly low. So they're the main points about this chart. Okay, so now we're going to look at the structure. How many paragraphs do you think you need for this essay, for this task? 3, some people say 3, some people say 2, 4, okay, all different answers. I mean, we suggest 4 paragraphs, okay, it just makes it easier. So the first paragraph is introduction. And then we have the overview. Okay, what's the next paragraph, the third one? Body A, thanks Mike, that's right. So body A contains details and body B, more details. Okay, so what do you notice about that structure? What is missing? So some people ask about this, what's missing? Conclusion, Mohammed, that's right. So for task 2, you need to include a conclusion. For task 1, you don't. Okay, that's important to remember. Right, so now looking in more detail at each section, so the introduction, what does that include? Yeah, rephrase, paraphrasing, that's correct. Okay, so you need to state what the charts show by paraphrasing the title, okay? Or, yeah, Mohammed, that's right. So rewriting the questions, putting it into your own words. And you do this in 1 or 2 sentences. And what about the overview? General information, Sultan. Yeah, so it's like, yeah, somebody said overall trends. Okay, that's right. So it's just general things that you notice. Okay, so you don't go into detail in this section. You outline 3 to 4 main points, trends and events, and you use 2 to 4 sentences to do this. Okay, and then body A. Yeah, somebody said about the first chart. Okay, that is the way we'd suggest doing it, just because it's easier to do it that way. So describe chart 1, giving specific data and examples in 3 to 5 sentences. Okay, and then body B is about chart 2, that's right. Describe chart 2, giving specific data and examples, 3 to 5 sentences. Okay, the same thing. So what you will notice is that the number of sentences kind of goes up for each paragraph through the essay. Okay, so we've got 1 or 2 sentences for introduction, then 2 to 4 for the overview, then 3 to 5 for the body paragraphs. Okay, right. So looking now at the introduction. Right, so just to repeat the question here, the table shows the results of a survey which sampled a cross-section of 100,000 people, asking if they travelled abroad and why they travelled for the period 1994 to 1998. The chart shows their destinations over the same period. Right, so for the introduction, as we said, you need to paraphrase the title. How do you do that? Which techniques can you use? Yeah, so sorry, I'm seeing 1 or 2 questions. If I can't address them, just please put them in the Q&A. Yeah, so Sultan, that's right. So you can use synonyms and grammar transformation, which can include changing the voice, so from active to passive or vice versa. Word forms, that's right. So you can use a different word form and you can change the order as well, okay? But it's important that you're accurate and precise. So it has to have exactly the same meaning, basically. And another thing that's important is don't write a list of more than 5 items. Okay, so as you can see in here, we've got 4 items, so it would be okay to include them, but more than that is going to be too many, more than 5. Okay, so let's look at how to paraphrase this. So the table, another word for shows, illustrates. Yeah, this comes up a lot, so it's the best synonym, really. Illustrates the something why. The reason, yes, a few people have said that. So the reasons why. Okay, UK residents, another way of saying this, people. Yeah, I was going to say not live, but living. People living in the UK. Travelled. Okay, another word for abroad? Overseas, that's right. Something, 1994, 1998. It's not during, yeah, between, that's right. Between 1994 and 1998. Okay, so that kind of covers the part about the table, and then you move on to the bar chart. So how can you connect that? While, that's, or you could say whereas, that's right. While the bar chart shows Okay, another way of saying destinations, places, that's right. Or, well, places or regions is fine. The regions they chose to visit. Okay, over the same period, what could you say here? Yeah, that's right, Neo, during this period. So that has exactly the same meaning. Both the table and the chart are something on a survey. Yes, Guy, thanks. Based on a survey. Okay, and then this last bit of something people. So it's the number of people. What's the number? Yeah, that's right, 100,000 people, yeah. Okay, so that's the introduction. Right, now coming on to the overview, I think somebody was asking if you can put it at the end, and you can. So you can either have it second or you can have it last, but you have to include one. If you don't include one, you can't score a band 6. Okay, so I assume that most of you are looking to, obviously, to get as high as possible. So you have to include one. Right, so just looking, this is looking at the criteria here. So band 5 recounts detail mechanically with no clear overview, right? So if you don't include a clear overview, you can only get band 5. There may be no data to support the description. So you have to include the numbers, the figures that you see. Okay, and then band 6 presents an overview with information appropriately selected. And then if you, hopefully, you can get 7. So it presents a clear overview of the main trends, differences, or stages. Okay. Okay, right, so coming on to the overview now. So as we said at the beginning, it's all about noticing the main trends. So it's been quite general, but you're noticing the main things in it. Okay, so 5 key features you need to look for. So the first one, most people traveled for holiday. Do you remember the others? Yeah, sorry, I can't pronounce your name, Shrinash. Any other words except overall to start the overview? I think overall is probably the best one to stick to. We can discuss this at the end anyway, so please put it in the Q&A because I think Jamie can maybe help with that. So 1998 is the highest, that's right. Okay, so looking at the key features, most people traveled for holiday. The total number of visits increased. Anything else? Yeah, in second place, people travel for business. That's a good point. It's maybe not one of the key features, but let's have a look. The most popular destination is Western Europe. Well, sorry, was Western Europe. Visits to Western Europe increased. And then the last one, visits to North America and other areas were low and stayed low. Okay, so as I said before, you'll notice that we've got 3 points about one of them, 2 points about the table, 3 points about the bar chart. Okay, so that makes 5 altogether. Right, so starting with overall. Okay, so let's have a look at this. So something travel was by far the most popular reason for going abroad each year. Yeah, holiday travel. Well, the total number of overseas trips. Something over the period. Yeah, increased. Make sure you use past. Increased over the period. Okay, so that's the first 2 points, and then the last 3. So you can use a nice expression like this, by a large margin. Okay, so it just means by a lot. The preferred travel destination was, yeah, Western Europe. Which something in popularity. Yeah, increased. So we've got the same word here, actually. I would try and use a different one if you can. So what could you say instead of increased? Rose. Yeah, rose in popularity. You can't say raised, but rose. Climbed in popularity. Okay, plummeted is the opposite. I would say either increased or rose. As travel to North America and other regions, something relatively low. Yeah, remained, that's right. Good. Remained relatively low, okay. Right, looking at the language in here, so the verb form is the past simple. Okay, so we've got was, increased, remained. Okay, so it's fairly simple, really. As I said, some people make a mistake and use present perfect. That's only really for the present, okay? The present connected with the past. But when it's just in the past, you use the past simple. And then linking expressions, what do you notice? While, that's right. Yeah, so we've got overall, while, which, and as. And then there's also a little bit of paraphrasing. So popular, preferred, popularity. Okay, so as you can see, we've got an adjective and then popular, and then popularity is a noun. So that's just a change of word form. Or you can say preferred as well, which is a synonym. And then, as I mentioned before, emphasizing expressions. So by a large margin is a nice one to use, or by far. Okay, right, so moving on to the next paragraph. Okay, so there are different approaches to organizing the body paragraphs. One logical approach is body A is chart 1, body B is chart 2. So I would personally do this. It's just going to be the easiest way to do it. Yeah, Nadia, this should be up. Actually, this webinar should be up on our YouTube page later, but I can check with Jamie. Make sure that you organize your details logically within the paragraphs. For example, by starting with the highest to the lowest, the biggest to the smallest change, and looking at similar categories. Okay, so I'll just show you how to do this. And make sure that you support your examples with specific data, okay, which means using the numbers that are presented. Yeah, we're going to show you in a minute, Patchy. Okay, so looking at this, in 1994, something people surveyed traveled abroad on holiday. Okay, what would you say here? Okay, so this is what I mean by including specific data. So you put the actual number in here, so 15,246. Okay, and something to 20,700. You need to, yeah, you're getting the right verb, most of you, but you just need to get the right form. So it should be an ing, okay, rising to. So not raising, rising. Or increasing, yes, you need ing there. Okay, in contrast, only 3,957 people traveled for what in the same year? Business, yes. Followed by something who visited family and friends. Yeah, so again, you need the actual figure. So 3,181. The total number of visits increased from 22,072 in 1994 to 28,828 in 1998. That's right. However, the number traveling for other reasons stayed fairly low. Or, yeah, say low. It could be low or constant, that's right. Stayed fairly constant at around 900 people. Okay, so as you can see, you've got most of the information in there. And you've included the specific data. Okay, so notice the verb forms, past simple. Okay, traveled, followed, visited, increased, stayed. Verb plus ing for extra information. So this is what I pointed out before. So you've got rising there. Notice the language for describing changes. So that was that. So yeah, stay fairly constant. It's a good expression to use. Linking expressions. Which linking expressions can you see? Yeah, in contrast, that's right. So we've got in contrast, followed by who and however. So just try to use a variety of those expressions if you can. And then adverbs. Which adverbs can you see? Fairly, yes. Okay, so we've got only, fairly, and around. Okay, sorry, let's just have a quick look at that. Right, so moving on to the next one, so chart 2. Okay, so it's similar to the previous one, so you need to organize your details logically, highest to lowest, biggest to smallest change, and similar categories. And make sure you give specific data to support your examples. Okay, so visits to the most popular destination, Western Europe, something significantly. Yeah, rose, or we've got increased again. So increased has come up quite a lot. So really try and vary your vocabulary if you can. Increased significantly from just under, that's right, just under 20,000 in 1994 to slightly under. Yeah, I mean, if you've used under first, you try to find a synonym, so you can say below, slightly below 25,000 4 years later. Okay, something far fewer people travel to other areas in North America. Yeah, you could say in contrast. So you need some kind of expression of concession, so something that's going to be a change here. We've used conversely, but you could say by contrast. You could also say, however. Conversely, far fewer people travel to other areas in North America. In 1998, the figures were something. 2,400 and 2,000, yeah, approximately, that's right, 2,400 and 2,300 people. Okay, and as we're to finish this sentence or this part off, respectively, yeah. With visits to these regions having experienced what little growth over the period? Any idea? Relatively, that's okay, yeah. Martus, you could say that. Relatively little growth over the period. It's probably about the best word to use, actually. You could maybe say barely little growth. Okay, and the next part. So just look at the verb forms again, past simple, increased, traveled, and were. And then we've got the perfect participle, which is here, having experienced. Okay, that should be yellow, sorry. And then linking expressions, we've got conversely and with. And then adverbs, which adverbs can you see? It's quite a few, yeah, significantly, approximately, yeah, relatively, anything with ly, basically. And then a few others like just, so significantly, just, slightly, approximately, respectively, and relatively. Okay, so that is it, basically. Yeah, so exam tips. Can anyone offer any tips? So for Mohammed, who's taking his exam tomorrow, any tips you can offer him? No, says Stephen. Okay. Structure a plan. Yeah, that's what we're going to offer. So this is the final thing. So don't start writing right away. Make a plan. Don't include a conclusion. Relax. Sleep well. Thank you, Ali. Don't panic, Tuan. That's good. Yeah, another thing that's really important, don't spend more than 20 minutes on task 1. Okay, you need to spend 40 on task 2, and remember you get more marks for that. Don't count your words. Okay, that takes too much time. And do practice on the official IELTS answer sheet. Okay, as you can see, if you write like this, you will get a band 9, so it's something to aim for. It's more words you need, but obviously it's better to write more than less. So it's 219 words. Make sure you practice a range of chart types as well. Okay, so that's it, everybody. So thank you very much. Yeah, so.
Yeah, very big thank you, Mary, for that presentation.
Okay.
Awesome. Cheers for guiding us through the task type, and well done, guys, for all your comments and suggestions there. That was really good. Great to see your level of language. So I've been busy working my way through some of your questions that you've added into the Q&A. And don't worry if we've not answered them yet, because we do have some time now to discuss your questions. So if you do have any more, add them into the Q&A and we'll look at them in a moment. Before we do, I would just like to do a bit of promotion for our speaking and writing evaluation service. If you found this webinar useful, you will probably benefit from a speaking or writing evaluation from one of our examiners. So we have a team of qualified writing and speaking examiners who can give you feedback. You can send in examples of your writing to our website, or you can book a mock speaking test and we can go through the test with you, give you feedback on what you can do to improve, and we can also give you a written report as well with recommendations. So if you're interested in that, I've put the links in the chat. Do check that out. It'd be great. So yeah, lots of nice comments for you there, Mary. Thank you. Great class. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's lovely to hear, guys. Thank you. So I think we can hop back in just now to the Q&A, and we can discuss some of these questions. So let's see, we've got quick question from Alice here. Alice is asking, can you give me some examples of linking words? What are some other linking words that I can use?
So there are lots of linking words, I guess, on the purpose. You know, so if you're changing, if you're showing something different, giving different information, you might use a phrase like in contrast, which you've used in here. However, on the other hand, so it really depends on the purpose. Okay, so there are different types. It could be like addition, so you're adding information like in addition, furthermore, moreover. Yeah, so there are lots of different ones really. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would agree, Mary. It really depends on the purpose. I mean, there's linkers probably for IELTS writing. You know, there are linkers of time, but I think it's more like organization, like first of all, another one is finally, you know, those ones are quite useful. And then as you said, like linkers of purpose as well, you know, example to give examples. So yeah, there are many. We do have a webinar up on our YouTube channel. It's based on useful vocabulary. If you check that one out, no, actually it's the common mistakes one. We've got a whole activity based around different linking expressions. So you could check that out on our YouTube channel, okay, for more information there. Great. Isigal, the time flew. I didn't even notice. Great class. Awesome.
If that's good or bad.
That's great. Great to hear. Great to hear. Excellent, guys. If you could put your questions into the Q&A, everyone, I will discuss the ones in the Q&A first, okay, just to keep things fair for everyone. So that was our first question. We've got a question from Nat Long, who says, I am around an 8 in listening. What can I do to improve this? As English is my second language and I'm still in grade 5. So,
well, I think 8 is it's pretty good. So that kind of assume you want to get a 9. So I guess probably doing what you're doing, Nat. Just immersing yourself in English, listening to as much as possible. Obviously practicing as well. So doing actually past papers. Getting used to answering the questions in the correct time. I would say. Anything else, Jamie?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, one thing I would say is if you're already on a band 8, I mean, a lot of native speakers, the first time they do an IELTS test, are likely to not get a band 9 as well, just because you might miss an answer, you might lose focus in the test, you know, so like it's possible just by practicing the test, practicing test strategy, not losing focus, like being focused for the whole test, you might be able to get a band 9 anyhow. Beyond that, maybe just improving your vocabulary by listening to a huge range of different, you know, language resources. Things like TED Talks are good for that as well. So yeah, that would be my suggestion there. Excellent. Let's see. Question from Jenny. What does it mean followed by in this context? So I think here, this was earlier on where we said, you know, the
third paragraph, isn't it? The third paragraph, the second sentence.
Great. Yeah.
In contrast.
Yeah.
So it just means it's the number that's, so you've got 3,957 people travel for business, followed by, so it's going to be a number that's less than that. It's like the next one. But it's a nice linking phrase to use.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, instead of saying, you know, the highest is this, then this, you can say followed by, basically. So as you said, Mary, yeah, the next one in the sequence. Guys, I can see a lot of your questions in the chat. If you can copy them over to the Q&A, we'll focus on these ones first. Okay, so please add, there's some great questions there, but we'll keep things fair and discuss the ones in the Q&A first. All right, let's see. So going through the questions here, Ping Yu is asking about the structure that we've used for this answer. They're asking, is this the only way we can answer this question? Is this the only structure we can use to answer a task 1 question?
It's not the only structure, but I mean, you can use variations of this. But you need to remember, you do need to include the introduction and the overview. Possibly the way you divide the rest of the information for the body paragraphs, you could maybe use an extra paragraph. Um, and as I was saying before, someone was asking, I think, about the overview. So you can either put that in second or you can put it in last, but it's just important to remember to include it. Otherwise you can't score more than I think it's a band 5, it's not band 6, band 5. So to get a band 6, you need to include an overview.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd agree with that for sure. I know like different teachers suggest different approaches. You know, there isn't just one correct approach. There, you know, variations are possible as long as you're clearly describing the data. You should be fine. But saying that, it's good to have a structure that you can use. You know, it helps you practice that, and this is one that many students use and get a high score. So you know, we think it's a good one that you can adapt to different questions.
Yeah, I was going to say, try and keep it as simple as possible. So if you try and, you know, do something different, it's just there's no need to do that. You know, you want to get a high score, so use the simplest structure, I would say.
Yeah, definitely agreed. Great. So a couple of questions here on resources. We've got one question about developing vocabulary. So Dimutro is asking, I have different books, vocabulary for IELTS and the academic word list. What can we recommend in addition to this literature? So any other resources for building?
Yeah, I mean, Jamie, you're probably better person to recommend resources than me. I mean, when I teach IELTS, I tend to actually use the websites quite a bit. I mean, there are a couple of books I use, but they're all fairly similar. I mean, if you go into a bookshop, you're going to find a lot of information on IELTS, and I would just probably look through and see what appeals to you. I'm sorry, that's not very helpful, but
yeah.
I don't know if you suggest anything else, Jamie.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, typically we teach vocabulary in context, so it's kind of linked with, you know, writing skills or listening skills. Like learning it on its own sometimes isn't, you know, the most effective way. There are a couple of good websites I can recommend. One is Youglish. I'll put the link in the chat. And this is more like if you have a word and you want to hear it in context, it will find a YouTube video, a series of YouTube videos with that word, and then you can hear it in its sort of natural context. You can hear the pronunciation. It will help to clarify the meaning and the use. So that can be a really nice way. Instead of just learning individual words and expressions, you get to hear them in context a bit more. So yeah, I would definitely suggest that as well. But yeah, I mean, the academic word list is a really good start, Dimutro. So I think you're already on the right track there. Right, let's see. Yeah, we've got a few, well, I say a few, we've got a lot more questions to get through. So we'll do our best, okay, but we might not be able to get through them all. Let's see, a question here from Daniela. Like, Daniela is asking, should I make any reference to in body paragraph B to the type of chart? Like, I see what you mean, Daniela. So your topic sentence could be something like, based on the bar chart, the most popular destination was. Do you think that would be a good way of introducing a body paragraph? Say, you know, according to the line graph, this, according to the bar chart, this.
I think, don't see why not, as long as you're not just, you know, you don't keep saying that. But I think it makes it quite clear, actually, if you're putting that in, which one you're referring to.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a form of signposting, so it kind of guides the reader. So it makes it, I would say, that's personally, but I don't know, Jenny, what you think.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I think it makes it very clear as well. Yeah, you know, there's no reason according to the table, blah, 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 according to the bar chart in your body paragraph B, then yeah, I think that would be absolutely fine, Daniela. It's an easy way to make it clear what you're referring to. Okay, just as well to add that on the topic of vocabulary, we have a number of vocabulary webinars which are available on our YouTube channel. So we do discuss this quite a lot in depth in those webinars. If you want to check out the recordings, they're on the YouTube channel. And I'm just checking if we have another one coming up. We have one on the 27th of this month coming up on vocabulary. So we will be discussing how you can develop your vocabulary in a lot more detail in that webinar. So I've put the link to that in the chat. If you're interested, you can sign up and we'll discuss it more then. Okay, cool. Let's see. Okay, similar question from Alice. This one is about sentence making and grammar. Can we recommend some books to improve sentence construction, sentence structure?
Oh gosh.
I'm putting on you on
To
the
be
spot
honest, I'm not
today.
good. Yeah, I know. I'm not the best person to ask because I tend to use all my old stuff and then I use websites. So I'm afraid I'm not really sure. I don't know if I'm the right person to ask. Jamie, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a wide topic, Alice. You know, there's a number of different grammar resource books. I always found the Murphy series.
Yeah, I use Murphy's. I mean, it's a little bit dry, but it covers everything quite clearly, doesn't it?
Yeah, and yeah, if you've got an idea of like which particular structure you want to use, then you can, you know, zoom in on that, you know, that grammar point, and then it has practice activities and it explains the rules. So I think that's quite a good practical workbook for grammar practice. There's also a very good website called Grammar Bites, which is possibly it might be a little bit advanced in places, but it discusses sentence construction and different types of clauses, and that could be useful for you as well. So yeah, those two resources I would recommend. Okay, let's see if anyone has any other suggestions. Please add them to the comments because
Yeah,
we love to
you
hear
probably know
them.
more than we do.
Yeah. Excellent. Goodbye, Aditya. Thank you for joining us today. Okay. Let's see. A few more of your questions here in the Q&A. My screen is freezing slightly, so
I can see them actually.
yeah. If you see one you'd like to answer, Mary,
yeah. Wait a minute.
See.
Somebody's asking if vocabulary. Patchy's asking vocabulary for IELTS. Is this book good? Yeah, I do actually have that one, and I think it's good.
Yeah. Suggestion. I've just actually seen a question from Chen about how can I know my IELTS writing level. So Chen, we do have a website which can help evaluate your writing level, also your speaking as well. On our website, ieltsonlinetest.com, you can send in an example of your writing and we will give you an estimated band score along with suggestions for how you can improve. So I've put the link to that in the chat if you're interested. Okay. Oh, what's this one, Hamdi, virtual writing tutor? Let's need to save that one and take a look. Looks interesting. Cool. Let's see. Iola is asking, is there any webinar coming up for task 2? Yep, Iola, we have a task 2 webinar coming up on March 2nd. We're going to be looking at agree, disagree. Okay, and so that should be live. I think it's not on our website yet, but it will be in the next few days. Okay, so look out for that in the next week or so. Let's see. Now, question for speaking. Admin, I think for the speaking test, it would be better to ask this question in one of our speaking webinars. Okay, we can discuss that in a bit more detail then. And Sumit is saying in this passage, there's no conclusion. So I guess the question here, do we need a conclusion for writing task 1?
No. Simple answer. No, I mean, I did say before, yeah, you don't need a conclusion, but you do need one for task 2. Okay, so, but you do, as I've stressed a few times, you really need an overview for task 1.
Right. So a question there from Alice, how old are you guys? Well, I'm sorry.
How old? I'm not telling you that.
Let's keep this on IELTS, okay? Please.
Too old.
Yeah. So, oh dear. Let's see. Question. This is a good question from Sue, and it's IELTS focused, which is, don't write a list of more than 5 items. What does this mean in the introduction?
Oh yeah, I saw that one actually, and I thought, yeah, because it's not, from looking at this, it's not very clear because we didn't include any items. So it's just when you you might mention, for example, in this case, where people went on holiday. So it was, sorry, what was it again? Yeah, so going at where people went abroad. So why they went abroad. Sorry. So going on holiday, business, family, and friends. So you might mention those things individually, and if there are more than 5 items, so maybe more than 5 rows in the table, you probably wouldn't do that. Okay, so you only use a maximum of 5. But in this case, we didn't actually do this. But I think the last webinar we did do this, so it makes it a bit clearer, I think.
Yeah, exactly. If you've got the 5 for this one, but I think because there's 2 different charts, there's probably too many categories to list them all independently anyway. But yeah, but exactly. If there's 5 or less, it's okay to put them in brackets and list them. But if there's more than 5, the list becomes too long. So you should try to summarize them. Yeah, good. Okay, welcome, Tiffany. Thanks for joining us. You are a bit late. The webinar is almost about to finish. But, you'll be able to watch the recording on our website. There's a new function now where you can rewatch the webinar. If you go to previous webinars on our website, if you're signed in, you can check the video out, and it will also be up on our YouTube channel as well. So hopefully you won't have missed too much. Okay, let's see. Maybe have time for one more question, and then we're going to need to wrap up for today. Aditya, I can see you're asking about synonyms, but I'm not sure exactly what your question is. So apologies if we're not clarifying that. Okay, question here from Tuan Tran, who's asking, is it okay to use phrasal verbs in the writing?
Generally, no, not really, because phrasal verbs tend to be used for speaking, although there is the occasional one that is a little bit more formal. But you would probably use them in task 2 rather than task 1, because this is more about presenting information. So there's not really any room to be, kind of creative with the language. It's more about learning trend language for task 1.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd say there are maybe a few exceptions where phrasal verbs would be okay. Like if you're saying, instead of saying increase, you could say it went up.
That's true. Yeah.
It went down. But yeah, like those kind of, as you said, those kind of languages for describing trends. I think you can use them, but often phrasal verbs are a bit more informal, so they're better for spoken English rather than written English. Some of them are neutral though, so it's fine to use. Okay, I think on that note, Mary, I think we can finish up the lesson today.
Right.
So
Okay.
just want to say a very big thank you for presenting.
You're welcome. Well, thank you. Lovely to be here again. So I think I'm doing one next week as well, next Monday.
Yeah, I think that's the plan. In fact, I will just check program to see, and I think we're going to be looking at describing maps for academic writing task 1. So we'll be looking at another task 1 question type, this time how to describe a map. It seems to be a more common question type these days, so worth reviewing for you. So yeah, so just to say very big thanks to Mary, big thank you to
Thanks,
everyone
Jamie.
for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone. Good luck, Mohammed, particularly tomorrow, but everyone else that's taking IELTS soon, good luck with it.
Yeah, definitely. If you've got your test coming up, best of luck to you. And yeah, hopefully we can see you again for another webinar soon. So cheers, guys.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Bye, Jamie.
Go. Cheers, Mary.
Bye.
Bye for
Bye.
now.